So when the game loads in, we're going to follow the tutorials here. So let's start the introduction. So we've got our mobile phone, which is our tutorial pop out, and yeah, it's really easy to sort of get your airport going as a result of this. As you can see, my graphics have been updated, so we've got a nice, real, crisp view. Okay, so airport is closed, but the build panel's where all the airport-related structures, and this yellow toolbar at the bottom here. Okay, management panel you can bring up using tab, and it really has everything in terms of the operational side about being a CEO. You get emails in about airport of the year, etc. Just going to pause the game here. Just whilst we'll talk you through this. So the email is really important because it can bring you some information, especially when you hire staff later on. But we've got the dashboard, and this gives you an overview of your airport, such as the ratings, which is really crucial when you're looking to win Airport of the Year and get some extra money and that sort of thing. We haven't got a small weather station yet. We will build one of those in the future, but that will give you an overview of the weather. You've also got some statistics which can be loaded when you hire a CIO member of staff. We've then got the operations tab, which is opening things like your airport, allowing general aviation when your lights go on. And when you expand your airport and you have catering service and different fuel types, you can then, when the system's set up and ready, you can then enable it to be used into the game. So we'll come back onto that at a later date. We've also got the R&D projects, which is where you can research new tech. So if you want a larger runway, for example. We've also got the construction, which is where you hire contractors and deploy them. And then you've got the economy tab, which tells you everything about your economy. You can take out loans, for example. And also this is where you'd sign your contracts for your businesses and your contractors, etc. Then you've got the staff tab. When we hire some staff, we'll go through here. So the ones that you have already hired, which are on the first tab. You've got applicants on the second. You can set shift patterns for them. And then you've got the executive committee, which gives certain perks to your airport as well. Then got vehicles, which is everything to do with from pushback taxis to emergency vehicles around your airport. Then we've got a statistics tab, which tells us about your passenger, your aircraft, your conveyor belt systems, your vehicles, incidents that have happened, and the economy. And then also you've got this last one here, which is your tutorial tab, which takes you through going from a small airfield, a regional airport, and to an international airport. So today we're going to look at setting up the basics of a small airfield. Okay, so we'll just go back to the dashboard, and then on the tutorial, we're just going to click through next, just because I've gone through those already. Now, you can go click on the email inbox at the bottom just for a shortcut onto this management tab as well. And then we've got our first couple of emails that have come through. So this is Anita, and this is just talking about the Airport of the Year award. It's fairly easy. You'll simply need to maintain an average rating of 95% over 3 years with a lot of passenger and aircraft throughput. And here's the full checklist. So 95%, 10,000 passengers, and 150 aircraft a year turned around. So it's actually quite achievable, and you do get a quite nice bonus for doing that. Okay, I'm just going to delete that message, and then just open up the second one, and this is just saying, thank you. Please press this button to access the tutorial. Okay, so now we've had a look at those. We can actually delete that first one. I'm going to keep the Airport of the Year awards in just as a future reference tool. And then we can press next. If you press F, it brings up the flight planner. You can also use it on the tool on the left hand side. And this is really crucial because you can see exactly what stands and runways are being used. You can automatically plan it when you hire certain members of staff, and you can also look at the minimum flight separation. Now, if you're at 30 minutes, it can be, if you've got a delay of an hour, that can be quite tight for other aircraft that are coming in. I normally set it at about 60 to 70 minutes just to get that separation really nice between the two flights in case there's any emergencies. We've then got an introduction, so this is going to tell us how to start planning our first airport. So we're going to construct a small airfield. Now, we could use this middle tab, this section here, middle tab or middle square of the map. Actually, I'm going to unlock this area straight away out of our 3 million, and it's going to give me a much bigger area to play. So what I'm thinking is, if we think about small airfield, regional airport and large international airport, I'm going to construct, I'm thinking of constructing a runway at the bottom for small aviation, a runway at the top for our regional airport, and they can share one terminal, which will save us on the costs. We'll then have vehicles that run around this main terminal building here. Now later on in the game, you can split terminals and assign staff to certain terminals, which when we build our international airport with the runway probably across these three at the back and our big terminal as well, encompassing all of that, it makes sense to sort of save those for later on in the game. So we're going to click next, and we need to have an operational delivery site, which the game already starts you with this. You can relocate it later on, but it means that your contractors can sort of be delivered to the terminal, straight to the terminal, and then you've got this site here. Now, what you could also do is have your terminal building built from this, because it's got a sidewalk. But we're going to sort of stretch off into this right hand area here and build our first runways and terminals over here. But today we're not going to concentrate on any terminals, we're just going to be building the small airfield. So we need to sign a contract with a contractor. So to open that, we press the tab on the keyboard, and we're going over to the economy tab and click on offered contracts. Now, a little tip I've got is, if we just triple the speed until about 9:30 in the morning, it should load up 3 stars. So yeah, so between 8:30 and 9:30 it will have that. So I'm just going to re-pause the game, and let's have a look. The higher the star quality, the cheaper it is for your business. But to get 4 and 5 stars, you need to increase your average airport rating to get better contracts. So you're only going to be limited to these 3 stars to begin with. So Berkeley's £5 an hour. CFE we're going to be paying over £6 an hour, and this one's £5.10. Now, although there's slightly more workers here for the extra 10p, it's only a few, so I'm actually going to sign with Brickley. I said Berkeley earlier, I think it's called Brickley, and we're going to deploy them. So to do that, we go to our operations tab, click on construction, we're going to click max and deploy all 128. Now, one of the things we're going to do straight away is build a runway. So we're going to need all of these contractors to build our runway as fast as possible. Okay, otherwise we're going to be losing money. So here, I'm just going to speed up to 3 times. We've got our contractors that have come in, beautiful, and now they're delivered. I'm just going to put it back onto normal time, and the game is saying to me, let's get our hands dirty. So we're going to start building our first runway at Birmingham International, which I'm going to think we're going to be building it around here. Then we can have our road go up and around a terminal building here. So that's where I'm thinking. So let's start with your general aviation. This is an example of an airport design. So ours is going to look quite similar to that, actually. So we need to place a small runway. So to do that, we go onto the yellow building bar at the bottom, and we go to aircraft infrastructure. So this is all the things to do with the aircraft itself in terms of runways, etc. We've got infrastructure and transportation, which we will look at later, but that's to do with things to do with the vehicles in the terminal. You've then got zoning, which is very important when we get to building our terminal, and then you've got the terminal tab to build different things inside the terminal. So this is the one that we're going to concentrate on, which is the airport or the aircraft infrastructure. So the first thing we're going to do is go and find our runway tab, and we're actually going to build an asphalt straight away. Now the reason for that is, although it's £50,000 extra, our operating cost is reduced by £100. So in the long run it's going to save us money. Okay, so and actually I'm going to start building this right against our fence, because on the north side of this runway we're going to have our aviation parking stands, which can then connect to a terminal. Okay, but I'm also just going to leave a little bit of room so things can get past. We can build things to the side. We can put things like when we're upgrading our runway to have to preempt bird strikes and ILS systems, PAPI lights, we can build those there. So I think this is a really good place for us to start. I'm going to build it just there. And we've placed a small runway, and then the next thing we need to do is to build some runway ramps. So again, we're going to stick with our asphalt theme. Our operating cost for the straightaway runway is a bit more than our let's say our diagonals. However, the sort of advantage of the diagonals is, although it's a little bit more in terms of in terms of construction cost, it's the benefit is that the operating cost is lower, but it does use slightly more room, okay, up on the runway. So we're going to line this up to our runway at the edge, which is just here. There we go. Oh, it must be connected to a runway. Oh, yeah, sorry. So I'm sorry, completely got this the wrong way around. A really nice tip is that you can use the R button on your keyboard just to rotate things. Okay, so we're going to fit this right on the edge of our runway, just here, and we've still got enough room for a road to go past. Yep. So we're going to put that here, and then we will get the other side of our runway done. Whoops, that's the same one. Oh no, we've gone for the same one again, which is great. So we've got runway ahead, left, and we've done the same again. Right, that is poor planning on my part. There we go. So we're going to just build that as far up as we can, like here. Okay. I think one of the other benefits of this is it could make it a little bit quicker for airports to sort of just turn on, aircraft to turn onto the runway at the airport. So then we need to drag out a taxiway foundation, okay? And to do that, we're going to go to the taxiway foundation, and again, we're going to go with the asphalt. I think it looks better than the grass anyway. We know we're going to become a busy airport, and then we're going to use 5 blocks across to build our taxiway. Okay, and now we actually don't want we want to think about spacing, okay? So I'm trying to make this as close to the runway as possible, and then I'm going to drag out a 7x3, a 3 width in terms of our taxiway down to here, again just to save on the cost. And then when we're joining it up, I always go 5 across. I just think that the plane sits quite nice then. As it's turning around, it gives a lot of manoeuvrability. Now, knowing that these are small planes, they will fit along a 3 width quite easily on our zoning structure here when we're building our taxiway. So the next thing to do is to place 5 small stands. Now I'm thinking that our terminal building is going to sort of end here. Okay, so we've got enough room for roads to come around. So our road will then come around here. Okay, so just to give ourselves enough room, I'm going to start our first parking stand right on the edge of our taxiway, and we need to make sure that the airplane links to the taxiway. So you can see on the parking stand at the bottom, just below where it says cost 30,000, we've got the little airplane tab. We want that to link to our taxiway. Okay, now I'm going to build it right on the edge here, and that will still give me enough room to build a nice terminal and also get a road going round. So I'm going to go ahead and build a little bit more than 5. I'm going to go and build 8 to begin with. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we'll build 8. Okay. In the future, I mean, I'm going to plan to have the whole taxiway with airport stands, but for now we'll see how we get on with this. Again, we want considering our money, and then we're going to wait for the construction of our taxiway before we can start connecting our taxiway paths. So I'm just going to speed this up to 3 stars, and you'll see the contractors that have coming on to work on the runway and to work on the taxiway. So just to get prepared for that, at the bottom we've got if we go back onto our aircraft infrastructure, if we look at these zigzaggy icons, we've got a taxiway path, which it should let me, yep, just before it's finished constructing, it does let me build this already. So there we go. So we've got a taxiway path, and this is the path that the planes will follow. And it's just important, remember, that you connect where these plane icons are between the stand and the taxiway. Now you can set aircraft to only go one way through or one way down your taxiway. So you can do that by right clicking to set a specific direction. Okay. Now I know that we're going to be taking off sort of west to east. So I know that my taxiway, my aircraft are always going to be entering down this part here. Okay. Now in real life, because of wind, that will change because aircraft like to take off into the wind. However, it means that for this game over, we can have an entrance only and then an exit only. Now you can always, if you wish to, you could always switch this around. But we are going to set that as one way, okay, just so that our aircraft don't ever go the wrong way. Now, as I said, it's really easy to switch it around. You press R2, R2. So I come on PlayStation again. You'd set the right click on your mouse and then set it the other way, and then you could click on your runway, and you could then go to direction and then change it to the other way if you wish to do that. We've got some runway upgrades that we can build already. So if you click onto the runway, now we've all built actually, I'm just going to put it onto a pause, because otherwise our contractors are going to be paid for a bit more than maybe they're they're going to go sit around and have a cup of tea, and we're still paying their wages. So I'm going to build some PAPI lights now. On close inspection, you can see the 4 PAPI lights are actually all contained in this box here. Okay, and I'm going to line it up with the landing strip, which is just here, and that seems like a good place to do it on the left hand side, and we will mirror that just on the other side. There we go, boom. So we've got our PAPI lights in place. And the next thing it wants us to do is to place a small ATC tower and wait for all structures to be built. Okay, now we're going to do that by placing our ATC tower just at the end of the runway here. Okay, and the sort of reason that we're going to be doing that, okay, so if we go onto terminal, if we go onto aircraft infrastructure, ATCC tower, I can use a local road then to connect the ATCT tower up. So we're going to build it just here, and that will give us a really nice overview of the airport as well. Okay, now just thinking about planning, it does mean that if we wanted a larger taxiway here, we'd have to sort of build around it, but because I know that I'm only going to be planning for no more than this length of our small runway, that this is going to be okay. This bit here, I'm going to sort of imagine that this is going to be where a lot of our service buildings are going to be, around this part here. So we've placed a small ATC, and we're going to wait for it to be built. I'm just going to go triple speed. Here come the delivery parts for it to be delivered, and our contractors then will get out really quickly to build our ATC unit. I could, if I wanted to save a bit of money, get rid of some of these contractors and then bring them back. So that could be a really nice money saving tip if you're all playing on a harder difficulty. So now it's time to accept our first flight. So I'm going to go back to normal speed. This time we can only accept general aviation, as we haven't acquired a commercial license. So first off, we need to ensure that the runway is open. So by doing that, we're going to click on our runway and click open runway. Okay, and as the tutorial is showing me, we're going to then click on our airport control panel, airport open, and allow general aviation. Okay, I'm going to wait for the 5 flights to land. Now you can always move on ahead of the tutorial. You can click on the checklist and it tells you some of the things you can do next in preparation. So it is going to tell me if animals land animals enter near the runway or taxiway, they can cause damage to the aircraft. So you need to build fences around your airport to keep them out. So place at least one fence gate to make it easier for contractors to pass certain areas. So I'll show you how to do that whilst we're waiting for these 5 aircraft to land. Okay. Now I can't remember if we've got, there might not land at night, so we might have to wait until the morning. But just whilst that's happening, we're going to go to our terminal, and we're going to go to fence, gate, and fences. Okay, so we're going to build our fence around our sort of terminal. So if we press the R, here we go, we can see we've got a nice little fence that we can build around our airport. Okay, I am going to include in fact, I'm not going to include the ATC tower. I don't think I need to do that, but we're going to just build this around our airport, okay, to keep these people out. Now we can always go back and edit this at a later time, at a later date. Eventually we're going to have a terminal building here, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to build our fence just out down here and get this to connect, and we'll just do the same with the top. So there we go. And in fact, I'm going to bulldoze this fence. I don't like where I've put this originally. I can cut it off at the top of the taxiway here. So what we're going to do here is we're going to press the B to bulldoze, or sorry, if you click on the bulldozer tool, and then you can just highlight and drag what you want deleted. And we're going to delete all of that. We're going to go back into our terminal fence, and we're going to just rotate and build the fence in here. Now we need a gate for people to sort of get through if they need access, so we're going to build a cheeky gate there, a cheeky gate down here, and we'll build one again just at the top here, so that means contractors etc can get through to the airfield. So we've now had 5 flights landed. They did land at night, and yeah, there we go. So it's now going to talk us through about a basic refueling service. So we've kept the contractors deployed actually, and as you will see, as our aviation flights have landed in, we're now starting to make money. So earlier in the game, through this tutorial, our hourly balance was in the red. It went up to green because we had some flights land. Now it's gone back into the red, probably because of the contractors that we've got on hire. But we're going to place a vehicle checkpoint to connect public and service roads. So I'm going to have my vehicle checkpoint along here to come down here, and it's eventually going to join up with this road here to service those aircraft. So we're going to build the infrastructure by going to our infrastructure and transportation. First thing we need to do is a vehicle checkpoint, so which is this one here, which means that you can separate public and service roads. Our service roads have got the spanner, and the public roads have just got the normal sort of road icon. So we are going to build it just slightly off here, okay, to give cars and vehicles enough turning room into it. And then we're going to connect up our public road off the main road here into our terminal, or into our airport grounds. And then we're going to use the service road here. Now we want to match this up to here. Now in the future, we know that we're going to build some aircraft stands along here. So, but we need a place to get our fuel from the road to these aircraft. So we're going to build a 2 layer road down here, and we're going to intercept our ATC, and we're going to make sure that they join up just like this. Again, if you've made a mistake like I have here, you can click on the bulldozer. And yeah, it will sort of just bulldoze your mistakes. The next thing we do is place a parking service depot or service vehicle parking lot. Now remember, if you do want to go back and see exactly how to do it step by step, you can then just press on the checklist and toggle it to the more in-depth tutorial here. Okay, so we need to place a vehicle depot or service vehicle parking lot. Now if we go into our infrastructure, you've got the choice here of a parking lot 7 vehicles, but the vehicle's 20. Now in terms of money and operating cost, it is more, but I'm thinking about future-proofing my airport, so I am going to put this just on the entrance here, okay, and that's where all our vehicles are going to be stored. If I need some extra room, I I can always build upon that later. Now we need to place a small AV gas fuel depot. So to do that, we go again airport infrastructure. We go all the way across to our fuel depot, and we're going to build this here. Now I'm going to build it quite close to the airport, just in terms of ensuring that our fuel gets to our suppliers quite quickly. Now if I put it here, it could have a bit of a health and safety aspect, so I'm going to build it on this sort of road here, and we'll pop that there. Okay, that seems a nice place for it. Again, fuel will be easy to get to the aircraft quite quickly. And we just need to wait for these to be built, so I'm just going to triple the speed whilst our contractors get on building our roads and building our vehicle service. Now again, I can click on the checklist, and actually we can go to next to see the next steps whilst we're waiting for all that to be built. So we need to purchase a fuel truck. Okay, so to do that, you press on the vehicle tab by using the tab on your keyboard, going across to vehicles, and then purchase vehicles. Now we're going to get busy, so I'm actually going to order 2 of these so we can do refuel multiple airplanes at once. Okay, so now let's go back to normal speed as we've completed that task. As you would have noticed, it wouldn't let me actually order these trucks, and the reason was that it wasn't in place. Okay, now if I click it again, and now we've actually built the structures, it's now enabling me to do so. So that's going to take 45 game minutes to get to you. As you can see, it's going at normal speed quite quickly. Okay, so whilst that is doing that, we need to sign a contract with an aviation fuel supplier. Again, if you want to go through the checklist and go through step by step at a slower pace, very much more welcome to do that. So we're going to go to our economy tab, and then we're going to go to our offered contracts, and we can filter. Okay, so if we look at the filter just below, we're going to go to aviation fuel suppliers, and I know automatically that the 3 stars are going to give me better value than the 2 and 1. So I click on the 3. At the moment we don't have any jet fuel, but the AV gas is 152, jet fuel 27, and 147 for AV gas, but jet fuel 31. Well, for now this is actually the better choice to make, but we can always look at redoing our contracts when we have planes that need jet fuel. Okay, so we're going to wait for them to refill our fuel depot, and that's just done automatically, and we're going to wait for the fuel truck to refill at the depot as well. So that's our vehicle that we've purchased already. So if I go on to vehicles, 6 minutes left, we'll just speed that up very quickly. There we go. And I can see actually on our screen here the fuel truck's already on its way to deliver fuel. And we'll have our vehicle, our fuel gas vehicle, here they are. We've got 2 of them, they're coming in now. So they'll pick up that fuel very quickly and then start refueling. Okay, so our object here is to refuel 5 aircraft, but to make sure you do this, you have to go into your operations tab on the dashboard and select the fuel service. So it's disabled. We're now going to enable it, meaning that we can complete that last bit of our checklist. I'm just going to put it onto triple speed, and as we see, this will take a few minutes to do that. As you can see just here, our vehicles have now been loaded with fuel, and they are now going to return to the depot, waiting for some new aircraft to land so that we can refuel them. Okay, so again, this is just a bit of a waiting game, because we need to complete this step before we can go on to the next part. Now, as we saw an airplane just bring in here, and we've got another one at small aircraft stand 6, so our truck has just gone in and refilled the aircraft at small stand 6. I believe that we might have another one coming on the way soon. Look, we've had a refuel. So just to, whilst we're waiting for this, the fuel depot itself, you can review the contract, you can disable the automatic reorder of fuel if you're going on less money, and you can request extra fuel if you're going for it really quickly. Now our main tank here, we're asking it to resupply at 10%. Now, you could always ask it to resupply at 20%, and sort of benefit of that is just to make sure if you've got a very busy airport that you're not going to ever be at a point where you are running low or running out if there's a delay to a delivery, which there are events in the game that can happen, such as workers go on strike and that sort of thing. So you always want to make sure that you do have enough fuel. Now, you can upgrade these buildings later in the game, so you've got a bigger capacity and the trucks have got more capacity to deliver fuel more quickly. If we click on the basics vehicle depot, you can then assign your vehicles, which have an ID number to different parking structures. So if you've got 50 vehicles but across 2 terminals, you could then assign your specific vehicles to a different terminal, which is again a really useful tool. Now, the one thing that I am wasting money on just looking at that is the contractors, so I'm going to go into and I'm going to actually keep 10 of them behind for now but dismiss the rest. Okay, 10 are just sort of, let's say, on standby. I don't mind having that on the edge whilst our airport is getting up and running, and then we'll go back to our triple speed, just waiting for our 5 I think that's 3 or 4 aircraft that have been refueled. We've got another one that's just coming onto parking stand 3. Now, what's really cool is you can click on the plane and see where it's come from and where it's going to as well. I don't think the flight time's going to take 6 hours to get to Norwich, but there we go. So that one's just being refueled. I think this one that's just landed here, that's obviously going to get a refuel. Or I'd hope it would be getting a refuel. Oh no, it hasn't requested any services for refueling by the looks of it. Some of them do and some of them don't. So yeah, this one here has, for example, the one that's just come in. Yeah, it's requested a fuel service. So here's our fuel truck just going out to get it. So that should be our last one that is done, and then that should then take us on to building our regional airport, which is where we can look at building things like a terminal. But this gives you a really nice start at, there we go, that is our last one done. So this gives us a really nice start on how the airport operates, the basics of building an airfield before you're ready to move on to a regional airport, which you can then start building terminals and start getting passengers through and not just general aviation. Hope that you enjoyed this first video in this tutorial of how to set up a game for Airport CEO. It really is an amazing game. I really love the top-down structure, how clear the graphics are, and again, for a small development team, I think this game is a huge success for what they were able to do with the resources that they put into this game. So thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for the next chapter of the Birmingham International rebuilding from scratch. Thank you very much.